How's it going, guys? Chris back here again with some more Historic Brawl. But I have been playing a lot of Standard lately, and I'm in a mood of where I'm a bit tilted, honestly. So I figured I'd play some Brawl. That would get me back into a proper mindset where the tilt won't be as bad. Right, because Brawl feels less tilty because even when you're like get massively outclassed and lose, it's not like it's not as sweaty as like Standard, right? Because in Standard you have a 60 card constructed format that is essentially highly solvable, right? Like Brawl, because it's because there's so much additional variance in it, it's a lot harder to reach a position where I've just exiled every land off the top of my deck. I think it's a lot harder to reach a point where it's like you can feel something. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like it's harder to reach a point where there's we're just getting land screwed. Well, you know, I think this is going to be it for us. We can't draw a second land. Our opponent is up 3 lands on us at this point, and we're dead. Our Bomat Courier might have been the issue. Because in theory, he draws you into more lands, but in practice, if he doesn't have any lands to draw you into, he can't, right? Yes, I've been playing Standard. I've been playing a little bit of Historic too. The fact that they added liquid metal coating to Historic, right, is just the biggest FU for the format. And at some point we will be making... I've already made a deck, but at some point I'll actually make a video about the deck. And how it's just egregiously not fun to play against. Yeah, I'll take this. So for those of you who don't know, that Karn can turn an artifact into a creature equal to its mana value, right? And liquid metal coating can make any permanent an artifact. And that means it can make your lands into an artifact, and then Karn can tick up to destroy a land. Which is the dumbest thing. It's just the dumbest thing you can do, because like it is powerful. I'm not gonna say it's not powerful. It's just dumb that that's the way that's an active and it's encouraged thing that you can do in the format, right? Because if you're gonna be playing Karn in Historic at the moment, the optimal build is to put a liquid metal coating in the sideboard and just ruin people's day. And that's not fun. Nobody wants that. But it's kind of what you should be doing. And honestly, you should probably run the other 3 liquid metal coatings in your deck. So the way Kayla works, she discards your hand and then you choose 3, 2, and 1 from cards you discarded and put them on the battlefield. And then you draw cards equal to... Chakasa's Welcome is actually a really, really powerful card. I've been playing around with it in Standard. There's this So there's a weird combo-y mono white deck. It's been my main home for Tokas's Welcome so far. And the way it works is you play like Spirited Companion and then the 2/1 Flying Angel that draws a card and gains your life when it enters the battlefield. You play those creatures and Welcoming Vampires. And you basically are playing your creatures as chump blockers. Yeah, you just play your creatures as chump blockers and draw cards and wait for your opponent to use all the removal and resources, and then you actually build up with things like Wedding Announcement and some cheap reanimation. It's interesting. Like, it has a bit of a flaw in that, because you've diverted so much of the mono white plan into because you've diverted so much of the plan into card draw, like static card draw, it can feel a bit rough. Because they can run things like the mono white soldier, not soldier, scout from Innistrad that can pump your team a bunch and things like that just kind of Trial of Zeal. That's kind of cool. You can use that as removal next turn. Unless you get more power and toughness. You do get more power and toughness when you specialize. It's kind of sad. Oh well. Man, I feel bad for the specialize. Because, like, if you specialize, right? So you're going down a card to get an additional effect on your creature. And then... God, I really wish I could just get me another mana. Bronze Walrus will do the job. There you go, Bronze Walrus. Next turn we're playing Smothering Tide because that's the optimal line. Yeah, so that deck has a couple of problems. The other standard brew I'm working on is just a Golgari deck. The new Golgari Spider from Brothers War, it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, destroy target non-land permanent, and when it dies, you can exile it and gain life equal to the number of, I think it's creatures in your graveyard. Like, that is actually really, really powerful, right? Because the destroying target non-land permanent hits the control decks as equally as it hits the aggro decks. And then the life gain when the creature dies just adds another layer of synergy onto the onto like just disrupting the aggro. And one other. It might be two Bant builds, two Azorius builds, because that seems kind of right, if I'm being honest. We'll probably discard the portal. The portal in this for more cards, so that way when Kayla comes down, we have things to discard. Like, ideally you want a 3-drop and a 2-drop at minimum. We're going to just Snarl reveal our planes for Kayla next turn. Which is not something I want to do, but... Snarl, reveal our planes, Kayla. She's really, really powerful. Like, we haven't seen much of her in the couple of games that we've been playing so far. But she is very powerful. I was looking at Kayla got killed. That's kind of sad. Yeah, I've been looking at the trying to look at OBS for a moment because I want to see. I think this is game 3, but I know it has not been very long. But for some reason, my taskbar is covering up the record time, so I have no idea what time it is. Wrath of God. And then we'll just recoup our mana rock. There's our mana rock. He's a 3/3. He's a good boy. I like walruses. We kind of want to keep our Rally Ancestors, although I don't know if I want it this early in the game, if I'm being honest. So the idea with the Kayla deck is that you play Kayla, you discard your hand, you draw a bunch of cards, you discard your hand, you draw a bunch of cards, and then eventually at the end, you use Rally the Ancestors, or the other spell that does the exact same thing, to just reanimate the board en masse, and kind of win from there. This is our game 3, but I'm going to go to a game 4, because I still think that we're just a little bit early. I was looking at the clock. I'd say a YouTube show that I really enjoy is coming out very soon. But when I looked at the clock, that was like it's coming out at 11. No, noon. And it's 11:13 here, and I saw that at like 10:50. So it's been like, if I had to guess, I'd say 15 minutes, but dude's eaten all my creatures. How will I reanimate them? Might as well. Start hitting back. We don't have any more creatures in the yard for them to eat, so unless they start eating their own. Is that something the Immersed Competitor can do? From a graveyard, yeah, so it can. This is target card, too, so it doesn't even need to be a creature. Wow, Immersed Predator. Clearly not a white card, right? Because if it was white, it'd say permanent, or it'd have to have some other restriction. I actually think I'd go Horn here. Discard. Sure. Sacrifice a permanent. Looks like the battlefield. Deal 3 damage to any target. So let's kill the claw. I'll gain the light. We've built up a lot of mana. Ardent Elementalist. Ardent Elementalist is one of the reasons... is one of the cards from the 2 Innistrad blocks that just makes me sad. Because blue got a creature in the other Innistrad set that was literally exactly this effect. Only, it only triggered on exploit, right? So blue, an instant and sorcery, sorcery-centric color, literally gets the same effect. Rude. Take action. They really don't want Kayla staying around. Do I have anything like... I don't, so... How do I... till the end of turn. So, if I don't cast Rim, we lose Rim. Otherwise, yeah, I think we can't afford to lose the Dragon Engine, honestly. I feel as though the 3 cards is going to be essential. Kind of got an Ox of Agonis effect, which I really appreciate. We can't run his other half in this deck because Mishra is clearly evil, right? Like, we are pressuring damage despite the fact we're losing hard to Immerstrom Predator. Ooh, well, that's probably GG. Yeah, GG opponent. 13 damage to the face. Gonna kill me. Yeah, I used to be able to just drag the taskbar over to another corner too, but I can't do that. I still don't know how long it's been, but we're gonna do another game. I tried recording this deck the other day, and it was performing okay. It's just that Arena was not performing okay. And I think it crashed halfway through the only game I got to, so it's like one of those games where it's separated between two video sections, and I don't really want to. So I think one of the limitations of this deck is using Kayla effectively, right? Like, red and white don't generally have the best ways to fill their hand. And as a result, you tend to go up 1 card every turn and then down 1 card, because you at least have to play a land every turn. So as a result, like, you're never really going to have more cards with Kayla. Like, you're going down cards in a way, I think. Because you only draw that many cards. Like, I think if it was that many plus 1, she'd be a little bit better. But I think in the current iteration, what happens is we get down to low cards in hand, and then we just can't go any further. Cool. So she's like a really decent aggro commander. It's just utility, I think, is the issue. Because the card advantage she provides you is kind of more board advantage. And it's not really... Well, it is card advantage because you get 3 of the cards you discard, right? At, like, max value. Generally, you're going to get 2 cards. Hopefully you get 2 cards. That's kind of what you need to break even. Or to get value, really. Do we just play Squee next turn? Squee might be better. But then again, if we play Kayla and she survives the next turn cycle, we get the Squee and maybe something else. Treasure and venture into the dungeon. I miss cards like this. Just like do something fairly reasonable, create a Power Stone, they'd be a lot better. Because it'd be a bit more like how energy was, right? Where it's incidental, not a selling point of the card. And I feel like in a lot of the cases, Power Stones are put forth as a selling point of a card, and they're just not strong enough for that. Like, we don't have enough. I know we just did an artifact set, but we don't have enough artifacts for them to really do that. Like, the most use I found for Power Stones in Standard at the moment is paying for the counter spells that say counter target spell unless you pay X. Like, they're really good at that, but like casting an artifact off of them is not great. And they're also reasonably decent at flipping Urza, right? Because the Might Stone and the Weak Stone, they're Power Stones. Goodbye, Kayla. I knew you well. Take action. Yeah, it's just no opponent seems to want to let Kayla resolve, which I think is good, right? Like, if she's kill on sight, that means you're doing something right. Squeeze making goblins. Squeeze one of those cards that I've seen a bit in Standard, and like, he is a bit impressive, but at the same time he just kind of feels worse than the other options, right? Because we had 2 goblins, Goblin Rabblemaster and then the Legion Warboss, that essentially are doing similar things, right? They both make a 1/1 goblin for combat. Yeah, how am I going to beat this Thora? That's going to be rough, if I'm being honest. Well, maybe Key to the Archive has the answer. I guess it does. Birgi, you can go to the bin. I predict that our creatures will die here very shortly. And then they might come back. You never know, right? You never know. Now, I need Alberto to play, like, 6 things into the, Yeah, that wasn't necessary. And then next one we rally the ancestors for 3. We are technically a mass reanimator deck, so we're a bit unconventional in that regard, but we are. Fortunately, Rally says exile them, doesn't it? That's a bit rough. Maybe we just squeeze. You, because they don't gain haste. Damage. Barely. But the current board state's a bit untenable, right? Like the big dragon Zatora comes down. And then we're just sad. Like Alberto has built a removal heavy deck. And we're just not that great at dealing with that kind of thing. Like, in theory, the deck should, because it is a bit of a go-wide deck, but